Hi, welcome to my 2035 Red Zone Blitz mock draft. My name is Jamie. You might know me as Squirrel. That's the name I go under when I'm playing front office football 8. And I am going to do a mock draft. At least this is going to be the first few picks. I'm going to do the first few picks here, test out the equipment, see if it works. And if it does work, then I'll do the rest of the first round. Big thanks to Rob for sending me the CSVs for this. So I can get up and running. Obviously, I don't play in this league. I don't play in any league at the moment. I haven't really found a time to play in a league, but I've played a lot, particularly in the GML, and lots of fun to have a look at this for you guys. Looking forward to getting into this. My wife says the over-under for views on this video is 7. I think that's optimistic, but let's see what we get onto. What we got in front of me here is this is my board. So I've been through, Rob sent me the board. You can see here it's ranked by, I've ranked it here by the expected current rating, although these are sometimes a bit optimistic, so I actually end up using this. As you can see, there's a few, you've got, how many players have I got a 60 plus rating for on the board here? You've got 23. That can be a bit negative, this can be a bit positive. The way I tend to do it, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to go pick by pick here. You can see we got Jacksonville on the clock at the minute with the first pick. My way of playing this game is a little bit unusual. I don't know many people who play it like me. There are others. There's a guy called Zach or T-Zach, however you call it. He plays it a little bit like I do. There's a few others. I skew really heavy on positional value. That's really, really important in the way I play the game. And there aren't that many players that really fit the prototype and play at the most valuable positions. And so when I deal out first round grades, or my model, which is up here, is dealing out first round grades, it really does not have many at all. Let's see how many I've got in this draft. I have got, let's see, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 prototypical players. And even that's not right, because if you look at this bottom one here, he's got some traits, which I think are first round traits, but he's averaging 40, his expected grade is 40. So I've literally got 6 prototype, first round, exciting players, and even one of those is a guard. So that's not that promising. So what we'll do is we'll go through by hand and look at the players a bit more closely. I'm going to make 3 or 4 picks here, maybe 5 picks, test all the equipment works, post this up, see what you guys think, and then we'll go from there. So first on the clock, Jacksonville. And I had a look, let's see, let's do this really quick. I had a look at Jacksonville's roster before I did this, and judging by this, there is not a quarterback on this roster, or at least maybe there's one of these guys, a rookie, I don't know. I can't see in game, I don't know, but it looks like they're going to look for a quarterback. That would be a typical first pick of the first round thing to do. So let's just say they're looking for a quarterback, and then we have a look at the class. So you look at this, it's fairly obvious there are not that many quarterbacks in this class. You've got one guy with a higher rating than the others, clearly stands out against the rest, and then a bunch of guys which are borderline start. For me, 40 is a starter in front office football. Maybe a bit different for quarterbacks. The other thing I'd encourage you to look at, if you look at this thing here, this is the model telling you where a player ought to be on a depth chart. So this guy's a down the draft flyer, this guy called Dominic Pinner. And this guy at the top is the only guy who jumps out as a starter. He doesn't jump out as a megastar starter. He jumps out as a QB2 on my rankings. These can be quite pessimistic. Anyway, this guy Marincic is well ahead of everybody else. Owen Marincic. So he's the quarterback to take. His downsides are he's got a low, I should just put that there. He's got a low percentage developed. He has got some pluses though. He's got a really high static bar. It's quite promising. So what we're going to do on him, we're going to take his player ID and put it into this thing here, which I use to look at players. It's a database of historic players, or at least it is if it works. There we go. It's a database of historic players, and we sort of start, here's our guy Marincic, we put him at the top here. And what we're going to do is run over to the side, take his static bar, which was sensor us, here it is, there's a static bar. He's got 84.5, obviously very good. Let's just make sure that we're using guys that are better than say 74 in the sample. His accuracy 54. I look for that to be high alongside sense rush, just the way I tend to play the game. So if we look for players that are a bit similar, so let's look for players. This guy is 55. Look for guys between 45 and 60. So minus 10 plus 5. And here's a bunch of people. And then if I rank it, I just performed a similarity nearest neighbor kind of analysis. So here's a couple. So here's historic players that are a bit similar. So let's have a look at their. So sense rush 85 plays high, 54 plays mid 50s, right? So here's a bunch of guys, and these are the scouted bars. This is pre-reveal, and then when the game reveals the players and the players play to their best, for these players, this was their actual sense rush, this was their actual accuracy. So the sense rush, they were all in the 80 before reveal. Most of these guys stayed around there. You'd expect that. Static bar, these are correlations between pre and post. If this is a high number and a green thing here, that means it's a static bar, which it is. Scramble frequency and sense rush are static bars for QBs. Accuracy, much less correlation. Instead of 0.9, it's 0.6. It correlates, but it doesn't correlate nearly as well. And as you can see, the accuracy, instead of being around 50 for all these guys, you get a 50. That guy's pretty much on expectations. This guy's only got 4. This guy bumped to 80. So if you look at my projections for these guys, this guy, which had a 76 projection, he had a bump. This number I won't bore you with. This is the bump or fail number really, but I won't bore you with the maths of that. Basically, he was projected in the mid 70s, end up as 84. This guy projected in the mid 60s was a 7. His accuracy was meant to be 50, it turned out to be 4. This guy is a classic bust. And so of these 3 quarterbacks that look similar, 4, 5, well not this one really, maybe there's 4 guys that look similar. You get 2 quarterbacks that you'd definitely be pleased with, 1 that you'd be kind of okay about. I mean, let's look at the what's the accuracy and sense rush for this guy. Yeah, okay. So you've got a pretty decent chance of a quarterback. So I think my QB2 here is a bit unfair. This guy is the most valuable player in this draft. I think I would put him as a first round grade easily, and I would make him the guy that Jacksonville selects. So here we go. So that's our first pick in this 2035 Red Zone Blitz mock draft by me, number 1, Owen Marincic. And as you can see up here, he goes in there, and that brings Carolina onto the clock. So Carolina on the clock with the second pick here of this draft. And let's see what they've got here. So if I just take all the positions off and just do it by expected ranking here, you see we got this guy Baruba at the top 82, this guy tight end 81, I think the most valuable positions by quite a long way in this game are quarterback and wide receiver. I think that's just the way I play the game. It doesn't mean it should be the way that anyone else plays the game. People who are good at game planning, which I'm not, I don't care about game planning in front of football at all because I don't find it interesting. Other people will find it interesting. They probably find other positions more valuable than me. So I think when I go back to my list of people I really think of first round picks, here's my list again. Disregard this guy who's got a low rating backer. So there's a tight end there and there's a wide receiver there. So I'm going to look at this receiver. He's the obvious one to take. Hicks, receiver. He's got a high static. He is old in the draft class, which is a negative. He's birth year 2010. You want a younger player if you can get one. And that percentage developed actually for 2010. It's all right. It's not rubbish, but it's not perfect. But this is a pretty much full set of... I reworked the combines onto a 0 to 100 scale. This is pretty much perfect. Don't worry about that 40. The broad jump combine for a receiver is their receiving skill. This guy doesn't receive. That doesn't matter. Sorry, I'm not receiving, returning. This guy doesn't return. That does not matter. And in fact, it's great because this 80 projection doesn't include any credit for returning ability. That tells you that could be a really good player. So let's take the 19, 12, 30, which is his ID, put it in here, and see what he looks like compared to comp set. So here's Hicks. Let's just do the analysis. Right, okay, there we go. So I like to just compare the statics before getting too much into this. So here's the big play for this player. And then you go between 73, 89. Okay, here we go. Here's Hicks. Right, so look, this guy is an absolute out-and-out player. Here's all the comps. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 comps all look like really good players. Let's do the route running, which is, I think, the most important bar. Route running and downfield, if you look at that. So this prospect, Hicks, has got max for both. And if you then just stick to people that also had max for both, so let's just do that. Max, so let's say over 75, just to scouting can vary for this. Oh, I've done the wrong thing there, hang on. 75, and then in here 75 as well. Alright, so just among players, there is elite as this, there are very few of them knocking around, but you've got the route running and the getting downfield that have got to be better than 75, and then what happened in their actual careers, which is what this section here is telling you, and look, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 were outstanding, this guy was still really good. They're all, okay, so this is an absolute sure thing player. Stephen Hicks, wide receiver, and I would be taking him the second pick of this draft. Now, actually, if this was me, if this was my team and I was Jacksonville with the first pick, that quarterback, you don't know anything in the draft, or at least I don't think you can know anything, I don't know, maybe other people have figured it out, about avoid interceptions. Avoid interceptions, I think, is the most valuable characteristic on a quarterback, and in this game you can't see it in the draft process. If it was me and I had the first round pick, I probably would take the receiver over the quarterback. Probably. Don't know. Maybe I wouldn't. All right, so that's what we got. There's our second pick of the first round of this draft. Stephen Hicks, wide receiver, Carolina. There's picks 1 and 2. Okay. So now we've done 2 picks in 12 minutes, which is a lot slower than I thought I was going to go. Let's get on and do maybe one more pick or a couple more picks before I stop this. Okay, so looking at the top players again, we got the tackle, we got the tight end. I would consider taking a tight end in the top 3. I don't know how many other people would. I think this looks like a pretty weak class. I think people with high picks in this class are a bit unlucky. Let's just have a little look at the other receivers just to make sure that I'm not missing any obvious ones. You've got this guy Elias, we'll look at him in a minute. I think if you've got a real quarterback or a real wide receiver on the board, and you've got a high pick in the first round, you should probably take them before you worry about much else in this game. So let's just have a look at some of these prospects that are saved. Let's just have a look at the next sort of 3 or 4 wide receiver prospects. Let's see if Los Angeles can take one of these guys. So we got this guy Rayburn. Rayburn is the next guy by projected maximum current rating. And Rayburn has got a low static really for a player that's meant to be elite. Mid-40s is not great. I think statics matter a lot for receivers. My model doesn't even like him, doesn't even think it's draftable for value. That's not promising, but let's have a look. 19,221. All right, so let's have a look at this. I hope Rob's scouting is good, by the way. This all comes on Rob's scouts. And sorry, Rob, but everyone gets to see your scouts bars. All right, so we're going to look at this. Here's Rayburn. First thing, he's got a combine problem, so we'll do that in a minute. So his big play, between 30, 35 and 50, so again, minus 10 plus 5, 51, minus 10 plus 5. So these are players with statics in similar range. I think statics matter a lot when you're looking at this. Okay, so then if you look at other players, it's pretty unusual for a guy with a static like this to get a projected maximum current rating up in the 70s. It's very unusual. Let's look at the highest we've got among receivers. Disregard that for a second. Among receivers. Yeah, okay. This is a big database of comps. There's never been one with a rating of more than 69, and we've got 72. So this guy's a real outlier. He's a very unusual prospect. And you've got to factor that in. And look, here's the actual maximum current rating of all these prospects. What is the highest? Is there one in there in the 60s? No, they're all in the 50s. The highest is 55. So let's look at this guy, Dam. He's a comp. He's actually got the low bench score. Sorry, this combine thing should be clearer. Hang on, just do this. Let's do that. Let's just make this a bit clearer for you guys. All right, so, and that's rating. All right, so this guy Cole Dam, let's look at this guy. He is similar in a lot of respects. He's got a really unusually high maximum current rating. He's got a weird bench, just like this guy, 30. It's anything below 40, you got to start thinking about it. On a 0 to 100 scale, he had the same kind of high-looking route running that looks super promising. Great, let's look at and downfield too. So 85, 77, this guy is similar, 70s, 80s. Let's see what his actuals were when he went into his actual career. He actually was 60 and 80. Okay, that's good. Even with a low big play, this guy was good. Did he have endurance, which is the other thing you got to have? That's why my thing doesn't. Sorry, could have done this the other way around. This guy's got no endurance. He's not a first round pick. Maybe if you're into, game planning and stuff, some of the guys I'm sure in this league know a lot about game planning. I don't know anything. I can't pick a guy like that in the first round. That's a second round pick for me. So that's Rayburn. All right, let's move on. Next guy, Pascoe. My analysis says he's a flyer. He's only a flyer. He's not a high round draftable prospect. Doesn't like him. Let's look at what we got on him. He's got the injury. Okay. Don't know why. To the eye, he looks better. 19,225. You see, I don't use conscriptor and stuff like that, by the way. That's because I haven't got it and I can't get in game here, so I can't show you the bars. Sorry about that. All right, so here we go. Pascoe, immediate thing. I've done the similarity score. Let's just check. Yeah, that's all fine. And you get proper guys with this guy. Okay, I think I might be missing something on this guy. Let's have a proper look. So big play again. Let's just do what I always do. 43, 58. So, oops. Minus 10 plus 5. Always the same logic. Okay, and then Okay, so look, the route running on this guy is middling, 55. But the route running a bunch of other guys is middling too. They've all exhibited, the 64 is the average. This is the projection for Pascoe. These guys are in their 50s and 60s. No, they're not quite. These two guys are probably closest. They have projections that are similar. This guy ended up as a 60. He was a no combine player. This guy ended up in the high 40s. Let's have a look at the downfield 70s, 80s, 78, 60, 70. This guy didn't have the route running, so he's not really a comp. These two are the comps. So 60s and 70s, 60s and that's 80, but let's go over and have a look at their real 30. This guy busted out. This guy didn't. 50-50 chance. I'd take that as a low first rounder. I'm going to put this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these, I'm going to put myself here as a kind of 1.7, which I'm trying to tell myself that that's a low first rounder. He's not a 1, he's not a 2, he's like a 1.7. So someone maybe in the 20s is a sort of sensible value pick for, I'd probably pick that guy if I was a playoff team and I'm just desperate for a receiver and I can't get up the board to get one year after year, and the GML used to be like that. Don't know about in Red Zone Blitz. Right, next guy, Donnelly. I don't like him. Has he got the non-endurance? Yeah, he's got no endurance, so he's a second round pick, even though he's got everything else. So, just to show you on the endurance thing, 19,257. Right, so this will be a bunch of guys that have got nice high ratings and look great, but they probably have no endurance either. So here's the 15, 18, If you pick a guy that's got not much endurance, here's a bunch of comps. Again, these guys have got, here's a few guys with nice ratings, right? They look like they're quite good. They came out in the draft with 60s ratings and they ended up with 60s ratings, but they didn't have any endurance in the draft. This is endurance. You can't really see it. Sorry, I've used this spreadsheet so many times. But obviously, you guys don't know it at all. No endurance. Let's see what their actuals look like. The actual peak, the best their bars got in their careers, when these guys went on to careers. And absolutely none of them developed endurance. Endurance doesn't pop. It never pops. If you go see a guy in the draft with no endurance, he's going to have no endurance as a player. Don't know why. But that just is what it is. If you do game planning, maybe you don't care about that. I don't do game planning because this is quite personalized. I can't pick these guys even they've got amazing ratings because they can't play very many down. At least I don't think they can. There's an exception to that, which is on the O-line, where I just don't care what the endurance is. The players don't seem to make any difference. Right, this guy, Elias. My analysis thinks he's a first round pick, and he thinks is a proper wide receiver 1. Let's have a look. So he's, again, an older prospect, but the statics there and the high development is there, all promising. 19.220. Oops, hello. All right, so here we go. So this is LAS, and let's have a look at what his static is high, so that's great. So let's just do greater than or equal to 70. His route running is a bit low, so that's a bit of a problem. You want that really. That's super important, and it's not really a sort of 52 in a high first round pick. And some of these combines are below elite as well. So this guy's not a totally elite across the board prospect. He's all right. Let's do this again. Minus 10 plus 5. Let's call it 50. What is it? 58 plus minus. So these are guys that are going to be similar. There's a couple of comps there that are pretty close. They're expected to be in the high 50s, mid 60s. That's where they did grade out in their careers. Okay, their getting downfield was high, expected, just like this guy. Their route running was lowish, just like this guy. The big wave was the same. Is the endurance there? Yeah, it's there. So these two are the two I'm really looking at. You've got these two here, and let's see. Sorry, what was their route running? It was in the 50s, was it? Yeah, in the 50s. What did it turn out to be? Route running in the 50s turned into staying as it was, but downfield was 100. So how do you value one of those? There's only one guy that's boomed in this whole group here of people that have that kind of route running and that kind of static. You don't get a lot of boomers, so don't bother hoping on a player like this. This guy's going to have middling route running only. Is that a top pick? I don't know. It's a first round grade, that's for sure. I think let's go back and just have a look. So if I'm Los Angeles on the clock here, here's the big board again. They got this guy Hoyt that they would look at, I would say. You got the tackle, I guess, but a tackle with the third pick of the whole draft is aggressive. Not too crazy. I guess you consider that. I don't think, in my world, you wouldn't look at an inside linebacker with the third pick of the draft ever, regardless how good they were. If anything, the fact they were super good would mean it just cost too much in their second contract. So I don't like players like that, really. Same with this guy. Something about this guy which the model doesn't like. His solid seismic skills too low, so his intelligence will be low. He's not a top of the first round pick. Another inside linebacker, don't really care. Model doesn't like these two guys for combine reasons. This one's got a low one here, this one here. So it doesn't like those as high picks. This one, same with the solid seismic. This top of the draft is full of risks, right? Here's the guard, same idea on this guy. His solid seismic's too low. You're really looking for 40, and you're really looking for 80 or 90. Inside linebacker again with another problem. This guy's got an agility combine problem. When I do the full draft, I'll go through on all these guys. Don't like this guy either. Same thing, combine. Don't like this guy. Same for this one. It's statics for him. Likes the running back. I don't take running backs this high in the first round. Although that's a small running back, he could be convertible to receiver. That's a risk someone might run. Come back to that, maybe not to do that now, maybe in a subsequent video. On the rest of this class, there's a bunch of other guys the model doesn't like, don't know why, we'll go through it another time. It really is, I think, between this quarterback, we've just done quarterback, between the guy further down, where's he gone? Where's that guy? Elias gone, here he is. It's between receiver Elias, way overdrafted, but still, it's a receiver. This guy Hoyt and this tackle, let's do Hoyt. 19.163, okay. All right, so big play again is what you look for as the static. And let's just set a bunch of guys that have got high big play. Then we've done this again, a bunch of similarities. Okay, every single one of these guys is good. Big play 80 is ridiculously high for a tight end because you don't see a lot with that kind of. I mean, I know there's a lot here, but it's ridiculously high. Sorry, a lot of these are receivers. And once you got the high route running downfield, the probability of a bust is super low. Has he got endurance? Yeah, okay, that's a plus prospect. Harold, he's old. That's unfortunate. This guy was a 2014 draft year. He's 4 years older than that. With the 2014 draft year, I get a lot more comfortable about taking him with the third pick of the draft, but I'd probably do that anyway. So if it were me, I would do that. So Los Angeles, there you go. You are going to take Dexter Hoyt, tight end. Or at least I think you are. There you go, you really are. And the, let's see, okay, let's do Baruba between this guy and the receiver, and then that'll do 5 picks and round it out there. So Baruba, 19373. I don't really like taking O-line this high, but I'd probably do that. I don't care about endurance for tackles. This guy looks like he's got pretty. Now, on tackles, guards and centers, it seems to be the shape of the bars that matter, and I don't understand it, but I look pretty closely at whether other players with similar projections have lived out to their projections. And the way to look at it is this column here, which is plus minus, and minus means didn't meet their projections and plus means they did. High static helps for this. Static in O-line is blocking strength. These are not max bars, right? They're not max. I don't think this guy's an 80 tackle by any stretch. I think he's probably 60 or maybe low 70s. I'm not that excited. I'd therefore take, if it was me and I was in the position of Denver with a 4th pick, which is Saw right here, I think. Saw's my man. Saw, I would take wide receiver Elias. I don't like that pick very much, by the way. See if you can trade down. And then there's 5 Baruba for Philadelphia. There you go. There's my first 5 picks. That's the end of that. How long did we go? I went for almost half an hour to do 5 picks. I'll go quicker when we do this again. See what you think of that. Tell me what you thought about it. That was fun. Thanks. Bye.